There's more bad news for President Biden, who is getting low ratings on pretty much every key issue ahead of 2024. A new AP poll reveals that 66% of Americans disapprove of the president's handling of the economy, 67% disapprove of his performance on gun policy, and the same percentage disapprove of his handling of immigration. Meanwhile, Biden continues to face questions about his age and fitness to serve, even from those within his own party. Hillary Clinton now among them.
Now, there was that heart-stopping moment where he almost fell over coming down the stairs a day or two ago. Is that a concern?
Well, I mean, it's a concern for anyone. And we've had presidents who've fallen before who were a lot younger, and people didn't go into, heart palpitations. But his age is an issue, and people have every right to consider it.
That set's from the 60s. So Congresswoman, she's right, and that was a neutrally objective statement, frankly, that absolutely all Americans should consider it. They should consider everything when weighing in on a presidential campaign. Perhaps this issue, however, will be more heavy than most.
I think it certainly is top of mind, given there's constant reminders of what a concern it is. But when you look at all of these different issues, Democrats are not happy with the work that President Biden is doing. So it should be a red flag to everyone watching to see how hard the DNC is trying to make sure that he is not held to account for his record. Simone Sanders was on Morning Joe the other day saying there will be no primary debate. There will be no stage for Bobby Kennedy or anyone else because the DNC will not allow it. It is all about Joe Biden. And I think it just reveals their hand. They are deathly afraid of Bobby Kennedy. They will do all that they can to pretend like he doesn't exist. And if he continues to build momentum, they're going to do everything they can to try to destroy his candidacy because they don't want voters to have an actual choice. They don't want to have a conversation where our president, his record will be examined and criticized.
Do you think that strategy would work?
I don't know if it'll work, but I'll tell you, he's incredibly vulnerable. This is we just reached day 853 of the Biden presidency. According to the 538 average, at this point in the presidency, he is the least popular president in the history of polling, with the exception of Jimmy Carter, which is kind of appropriate because he's the worst president since Jimmy Carter. He's 80 years old. He would be 86 if he won a second term. According to the Social Security Administration, and women live longer, but an average American man has a 60% chance of reaching the age of 85. So that means about a 40% chance that Kamala Harris would be president in some point in a second Biden term. So she's on the ballot, and she's even less popular than he is.
And when you bring up popularity, Kayleigh, these polls reflect an absolutely dismal point of view of not only the president's fitness to serve, but also how he has performed or underperformed during his tenure.
They do, but I have a little bit of deja vu because I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm thinking we could have had this same conversation November of last year, before the midterms, and look at what happened. The bad poll numbers for Biden didn't equal success for the GOP. So between now and next November, I am going to be a siren for the GOP having discipline here, because even when you dig into this poll, you see the 30% approval on the economy, on immigration, gun policy even. So it's a dire assessment. However, when you dig down into this poll, there was this one aspect that caught my eye, and it was on the debt ceiling. And it showed 79% of Americans say we shouldn't raise the debt ceiling, or if we do, we need to have deficit cuts. So I'm like, okay, Kevin McCarthy's winning on this. 79% of Americans agree. But when you look at who they're blaming for this, they're blaming Kevin McCarthy, Republicans, Democrats, and Joe Biden, meaning the GOP messaging is not breaking through. We have to be disciplined. We have to be smart. We have to be almost perfect, because you're up against a liberal media. You're up against social media. So it's incumbent upon the GOP, be disciplined and get rid of the noise.
You made me think of something, Tulsi, and when you're talking about how the left doesn't want Biden to take accountability or responsibility for everything that has failed on his watch, maybe that's where some of the ageism speak is coming from. I mean, I remember when Hillary Clinton was running, and Obama, for that matter, with the Reverend Wright tapes. And it was always a little strange that late in that primary year between Obama and Hillary Clinton, how those tapes suddenly appeared. And I thought, well, the left would probably have more access to this stuff than a Republican sitting in the pews of Reverend Wright's church. And I just look at this. Who politically actually benefits if Joe Biden is suddenly silenced by, I don't want to take an acuity test? And you've seen all of those, not just Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but others coming out of the woodworks now. Maybe Manchin would take a peek. Now, Manchin's only a couple of years younger than Biden, so it may be suggested that he would need the test too. But you were saying something during the commercial that really jogged my brain. Age is a problem in general in our leadership.
Yeah. Exactly. When you look at the focus on a lot of the issues, or the lack of focus actually on real issues that are affecting families and working people all across this country, you've got a lot of folks who are in office who are and have been way out of touch with that reality themselves for a very long time. Worse yet, and taking age out of it, because, you know, I'm not saying that our government has to be made up of only young people and young families and parents and working people.
Right.
It's just about caring. It's about saying, hey, I may not know what you're going through, so, you know, I'm going to come and visit your community. I'm going to listen. And I'm going to better understand how we in positions of public service can actually work together across party lines to address those needs. And that's what we were talking about, is the lack of care and the lack of actual intent to solve problems.
Right. You know what? Some of that is driven by, Emily. Younger people don't have inevitability. They haven't been around for 50 years like Joe Biden, who basically becomes king. It's inevitable. Everything's inevitable. You don't have that when you're younger.
What's not inevitable, however, are those results. So to your point, Kayleigh, we just need that discipline on the GOP side, and we'll get there if we stick together. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.